So today, we're going to be doing a lot of focus on NASA this week as we have an announcement regarding, it's mainly about the future of NASA. We have the nomination of Jarek Isaacman as the new NASA administrator, expected to succeed Bill Nelson, as well as updates regarding the Artemis III mission. And then in the Sky Report, there's going to be a lot of moon and star talk. We've got a lot of moon activity. The first time we've really seen it ever since the November supermoon. That's actually going to be something we're going to talk about, kind of referring back to the supermoon. But yeah, we have that, and we also have some planets that are going to be up moving around in the night sky. So anyways, we're going to be covering all of that and more. This is Interstellar Insights. Alright, so to start off this week's edition of Interstellar Insights, we're going to be talking about the future of leadership over at NASA. So I guess start us off. Last Wednesday, it was announced by President-elect Donald Trump that Jarek Isaacman is going to be succeeding current NASA Administrator Bill Nelson. Just for a little bit of background context, Isaacman's basically going to be the first person from the private sector to take over NASA. Usually this position is designated to former astronauts, or just government officials as well. Bill Nelson was a astronaut turned senator in Florida, and then when Biden took office, he was appointed by President Biden to that post. So anyways, Isaacman, in terms of kind of his background, he mainly comes from SpaceX. He's done a lot of work with SpaceX. A notable example is Inspiration 4. It was basically the first private human spacecraft flight. So, because, for the past 60 years, basically the whole history of space travel, it's been basically dominated by the government. We've had NASA, the ESA and the CSA from Canada and Europe, and then, of course, the ISS was basically worked by the government, but it's not till, basically the turn of the 21st century that, we're starting to see Elon Musk and SpaceX, start to rise and, kind of the creation of a private space industry. So, Inspiration 4 was a breakthrough, first private human space flight. No one on board was really affiliated with the government. They were all private from SpaceX, including Isaacman, who was on that flight. And on that flight, he became the first person, get this, he was the first person to put in a sports bet from space on Inspiration 4 on this flight. If you want to talk about breaking something in a way, I guess that's something there for you. But besides that, Isaacman also has commanded the Polaris Dawn mission. It took Isaacman and his crew about 1,400 kilometers away from Earth, and then from there, he actually managed to perform a spacewalk, which is, of course, very notable. So, with that being said, the NASA administrator role, who is the person in charge of NASA and all of its operations, is going to be confirmed in the Senate, because they're obviously they're obviously a bureaucratic organization, so that they have to go through Senate confirmation and all the hearings and stuff. So it's not like he's the presumptive nominee. He's the current nominee. He's expected to succeed Bill Nelson. If you take a look at results of the election, Trump should be able to get Isaacman through. But that's kind of the future of where NASA's heading. And also, I forgot to mention, but also besides his work for SpaceX, he's just also a tech billionaire in general. So it'll be kind of interesting, how that'll turn out. Will NASA kind of shift away from, being totally ran by the government? I mean, yes, there are contracts, usually with the traditional, defense contractors like Boeing and Norfolk, for example. But will we see kind of the bringing in SpaceX to the fold kind of thing, where we'll see a little bit more privatization within NASA, and especially with Artemis III coming up and how that'll look. But anyways, that's all I've got regarding nomination of Jarek Isaacman. This is kind of looking forward for pretty much the next few years, really, of Trump's term, as Isaacman will serve that post and oversee all of NASA. And of course, that'll occur during the time of the Artemis III mission, hopefully. So we'll see what happens there. But anyways, let's go move on to this week's Sky Report. Alrighty, guys. So welcome to this week's Sky Report. Reminder, I think this is like the first time in a long time I've said it on time. Reminder that all the times that I will be listing are going to be in Eastern Standard Time. Unless I specify otherwise. Usually local time is usually what I'll specify, but I will specify that for certain times. But other than that, just assume Eastern time. Like I said, I don't care if you live somewhere else. I don't care if you live on the border between like Central and Eastern. That's just weird. But with that being said, let's get into it. Starting off with today, Wednesday. There's actually nothing much that happened in the night sky, but there is some stuff that happened this morning that I will talk about, just as kind of notable things. It's mainly between Mars and various supernovas. I wouldn't say supernovas, star clusters. Yeah, I was struggling with words. Words are hard. But Mars would have been high in the morning sky with the Beehive cluster, and then besides Mars would have been M44 to the left of Mars, the M44 star cluster. I think we talked about that a couple times. I don't know. There's a lot of star clusters I have to memorize, so it's hard to keep it all under wraps. You know what I mean? But anyways, that's what happened this morning today, Wednesday. Anyways, tomorrow the 12th, 8:20 a.m. in the morning, the moon is going to reach perigee. With the moon it's going to be sitting at about 227,025 miles away from the Earth. It's not quite a supermoon because supermoons have to be at perigee or apogee, I believe. And then for those of you that don't know, apogee is the point when the moon is the most farthest away in its orbit from Earth, and perigee is when it's at its closest from Earth. But anyways, speaking of the supermoon, usually when, like, for the last month or two, really all the way back to September when the moon reached perigee or apogee, it would usually be a supermoon. But in this case, there just isn't going to be one this December. And there's actually not going to be one for a while. The next predicted supermoon isn't until October 2025. So about a year from now, we should see a new supermoon, or not a new supermoon, just another supermoon popping up in the horizon. So that'll be something very interesting to see. But anyways, that's what the moon's going to be doing this morning. At about midnight, Thursday night, Jupiter will be in Taurus, the constellation. And there's going to be a transit going on. Basically, Jupiter and Europa are going to be very tightly together, and Europa is going to actually cross the gas giant at about 12:31 a.m., which you can take a look in the night skies. It'll cross from one point to another. And then that's all I've got for Thursday. Friday, we've got the moon passing about 4 degrees north of Uranus at about 5 in the morning in Aries the Ram. And then the pair will be sinking in the horizon. Like I said, they were initially 4 degrees north at about 5, but as time moves on, it's going to be sinking down below the horizon. But besides that, there's actually something very important happening earlier that day. I believe it is earlier. If not, it's going to be early Saturday morning. I forgot, because on my information here, I forgot to list out the exact time, but it's either that Friday morning or early Saturday morning. And and I believe this is the first time I'm reporting on one of these, but there's actually going to be a meteor shower. I think this might be the first time ever on this podcast over the course of the last 4 months, actually, yeah, like 6 months that I've really ever talked about a meteor shower. So the meteor shower in this case is going to be the Geminid meteor shower. That is expected to occur at about 2 in the morning local time. And the amount of meteors expected to be produced by the shower are going to be immense. About 150 meteors per hour are expected. And the radiant point, or I guess better word would be the origin point, is going to be near the bright star Castor in Gemini Twins when you're looking in the night sky. So that is kind of the origin point of where meteors are going to begin to streak across the sky, and they'll kind of start out from that point and just kind of expand along away from Castor in Gemini Twins, that particular region of the night sky. But anyways, sometimes today, the 11th December, sunset's going to occur at 4:35 p.m. Moonrise is going to occur at 1:44 p.m. And moonset's going to occur at 2:49 a.m. So those are your times there. For the 12th, sunrise is going to occur at 7:13 a.m. Sunset's going to occur at 4:35 p.m. Moonrise is going to occur at 2:15 p.m. And moonset's going to occur at 4:06 a.m. next day. For Friday 13th, I know, spooky. I probably should talk about that, but it's Friday 13th. Be careful. If that's my advice for Friday the 13th. Be careful. Don't do anything stupid Friday the 13th, unless you're looking out to see the meteor shower. But other than that, don't do anything stupid. But anyways, sunrise on Friday the 13th is going to occur at 7:14 in the morning. Sunset's going to occur at 4:35 p.m. in the afternoon. Moonrise is going to occur at 2:54 p.m. And moonset is going to occur at 5:26 in the morning next day. And regarding times, I would like to note that sunset's kind of reaching the lowest point that it's, or actually not the lowest point. That's kind of that's a mathematical way to put it, but it's kind of reaching we're reaching the shortest days of the year. I think that's what I'm trying to say. Yeah, because we're about to approach the winter solstice and stuff, so that'll be interesting. That should be, I don't remember exactly. I just know it's around this time. That's all you have to really know for the winter solstice, and then leaving the winter solstice, the days will gradually get longer and longer, and then we can get back to some of those longer days that we see in spring and summer. But anyways, besides that, the moon phase that is going to occur over these 3 days is going to be waxing gibbous. So yeah, that's everything I've got for this week's Sky Report. Let's go and move on to our next big topic regarding NASA and the Artemis III mission. Alrighty, guys. So, I guess the best way to put this is, I guess it's really disappointing news, rather, regarding the Artemis III mission. I'm just going to move my microphone in a little bit. Yeah. But the Artemis III mission right now is being delayed. It's being pushed back to 2027. So, the first moon mission, really since the Apollo era done by NASA, it's been receiving a lot of pushback, unfortunately, trying to send someone back to the moon after like 50 years. Yeah, 50 years. That's about right. But I guess I'll provide kind of a time lapse of what's been going on. When the Artemis III mission was kind of initially conceptualized, if you will, and scheduled, it was going to happen next year in 2025, really. But in January of this year, NASA that's not grammatically right, has announced that the mission is actually going to be pushed back to September 2026, which is about 2 years from now. Okay, that's not too bad. However, the mission is now getting pushed back, like I said earlier, to 2027, which is 3 years. So we have to wait an additional year before we see a man on the moon. But there's kind of two big reasons. I believe there was a press conference, I believe, in the last week with NASA regarding the delays, and at that press conference, Bill Nelson, the current NASA administrator, I talked about in the first segment, took a lot of questions, and one of the main reasons he attributes the delays is to issues regarding the heat shield. Because back in 2022, they were doing a lot of testing, preparing, because one of the, I guess, one of the cornerstone things, of course, is astronaut safety. So they will not do this mission until they could ensure that, astronauts are, at their, it's not on the astronauts, but their spacecraft and equipment are at the utmost level of ensuring the safety of the crew. But anyways, like I said, back in 2022, there were some test missions. The first one was Artemis 1. And there was a heat issue, or not a heat issue, heat shield issue, which I guess is a heat issue. But it's taken them longer to kind of address the problem than expected, really. And they only discovered this recently. And essentially, I guess we need to talk a little bit into Artemis 1 itself. Artemis 1 was coated in a coating called Overhaul. Basically, just this layer on the spacecraft that is designed to protect spacecraft from heat. As the spacecraft will. So, of course, you guys know there's no atmosphere in the moon, so it'll land through safely. But remission into Earth, they want to make sure that the spacecraft's not burning up in a toast as it comes back to Earth, because of all the because the atmosphere, and I guess really the best way to put it is kind of air friction and air resistance. That's what I would assume. That's my best educated guess on it, but that's something I can look into later. But when this initially happened with Artemis 1, they discovered that the Overhaul layer was actually trapping gases that create cracks in the material, which led to these charred bits of Overhaul, and I guess some parts of the spacecraft to fly off, which is not good. I wouldn't want to have cracks in a shield, or just any shield in general. It could be like a heat shield like this, or just a physical shield. Who wants that, But they did deduce that it would be safe. The Overhaul. Well, actually, I'm making it sound like that it's safe to ride in Artemis in the current state. It is not. But when they initially did the testings of this, NASA predicted that it would be safe for the crew, but that's kind of gone off the rails. That's not really the case. So right now they're kind of in the process of developing a new not a space shield, a heat shield. Although I guess it is from the cosmos, from from the sun and stuff like that. So I guess it could be called a space shield, but it's not. And then so the heat shield is one of the main reasons. Another reason has to do with spacesuits. And for those of you that don't know, NASA basically has been using the same spacesuits for 40 years. They're old, and they're not really and if you take a look at the ISS spacesuits that they use for spacewalks, those spacesuits aren't really meant to be walked on to the moon. So they contacted a company, I guess really a contractor of NASA, called Axiom, which is basically going to develop next gen spacesuits that are going to outdate the the old white spacesuits that everyone knows, and they're old, and there could be newer technology that could better ensure safeties. And I've seen some of these prototypes, just as images of kind of conceptualizations, kind of a black spacesuit, and it's got I guess tealish stripes, I believe. Be a proper term. I'll have to check later regarding the images. But Axiom was supposed to promise this very, very safe astronaut next gen space suit that they were going to use for Artemis 3. But right now they are developing, or not developing, but they are developing a life system for these spacesuits. However, they are struggling to sustain it, develop a proper life support system. That is something that they're struggling. That is something that they need more time. So yeah, those are the two underlying issues: a heat shield and spacesuits that can't properly keep you space. on the moon. So a spacesuit that can't keep you properly spaced. A spacesuit that can't properly keep you safe on the moon. Yeah. Of course, those are two big no-nos. And right now, the focus on NASA has been kind of on the safety of the astronauts. So that's what the primary focus is on now. So they have to deal with this. And, I mean, it's I guess it is kind of disappointing a little bit that we're going to have to wait another full year just to see NASA return to the moon. I guess Americans really return to the moon in a way. I guess that's the best way to put it. But yeah, that's all I've got for this disappointing news. I don't know why I paused like that. This disappointing news about the Artemis III delay and pushback. So yeah, anyways, let's go move on to this week's edition of Astronomy Trivia. Alrighty guys, welcome to this week's edition of Astronomy Trivia. Before we get into this week's question, I believe, actually, we gotta talk about last week's question, which I believe was, what planet in the solar system has the most amount of moons? And the answer to that was Saturn. I know, when I initially learned this, I thought it was Jupiter, because I know Jupiter's got a bunch of these objects near it and stuff, but I guess apparently Saturn has more, or at least, there's more confirmed moons. I'm sure there's a bunch of like unconfirmed moons by Jupiter, but I mean, we're talking about like confirmed moons. But anyways, Saturn is the answer. Saturn has 146 total confirmed moons. Who knows? Maybe they'll discover more, or maybe they'll discover more on Jupiter, and Jupiter can take that title. But anyways, let's start with the question for this week. And the question for this week is, which moon is the biggest moon in the solar system? I'm going to say it again. Which moon is the biggest moon in the solar system? I'm going to make a poll for YouTube and Spotify, separately for, both of those listeners. So you guys can go and answer there. Anyways, besides that, that's all I've got. Let's go close out this episode. Alrighty, guys. So that wraps up everything for this week's edition of Interstellar Insights. Next week shall be regular song and dance, nothing new, nothing spiffy. Still trying to work on shorts. That's going to be a bit of a long-term project. Hopefully I can get some shorts out by the time winter break starts, and the Christmas holidays begin. That'll be kind of a, I guess that would be kind of a holiday gift. But yeah, that's all I've got. We're still trying to organize some bonus episodes. Those are kind of still on the drawing board, so hopefully we can get some done before 2025 begins. And yeah, that's about it. Shorts, bonus episodes, and the normal scheduled show. So yeah, that's all I've got. If you like this episode, feel free to go ahead and subscribe. It does mean a lot. It has a great impact on this channel. It doesn't take that long to subscribe. It doesn't cost anything, and it benefits me greatly as a podcaster, amateur. I guess that's the proper word, amateur podcaster. So yeah, and then of course we can use that to develop new segments, maybe even new shows and stuff, and increase the quality that we have on the show. But anyways, that is all I've got. This is Michael signing off.